Today, as the days draw in and the cloying scent of cinnamon fills the air, we're bravely and perhaps ill advisedly looking back at the plans we had at the beginning of the growing season. We're taking stock of the gardening we actually did versus the gardening we promised to do. And we thought it would be even better if we got Erin Schanen, the impatient gardener, to join us because she tempted us to make a few promises last February. Did we keep them? Does anyone? It's time to get painfully honest today on the Garden Mixer.
Dun, 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 dun. I'm Leslie Harris. She's Marianne Wilburn. And guess what? Only one of us promised to do those things. One of us wisely took a little bit of a nap during all those seed-starting accomplishments that were recited by Erin. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. I don't think I'm doing that. And so I kept all my promises of being a very lazy gardener and going shopping. But we're going to find out all the good stuff about you because I think you did some stuff, yeah?
Leslie's teaching us all just to keep setting the bar lower and lower. And then you never have to disappoint anyone, including yourself. She's right,
Works for
though.
me.
You're right, girl. I made a lot of promises during that podcast. I listened to it. I went back and listened to it on my walks and I had the cat o' nine tails as I listened. And oh my God, that one too. Oh, geez, I didn't do that. I did
I
do
know
some
you
of
did.
it though. I did. And I had some joys and I had some disappointments. And when Erin comes and joins us, I will confess all. How about that? But first, what's in the mix tonight? I'm doing a gin and tonic in honor of Erin.
Okay, we'll see what she brings. I mixed a good old, just like me, old fashioned. I actually brought a little auxiliary. Look at this to pour into my ice later. I'm like, oh, that's such a tiny drink. We'll just do this one, and then that's for later.
And then this one. And then this one. Well, I still have some writer's tears behind me if we need to get stuck into that. But how about we get stuck into Clear Up Corner? Because there is just so much.
Raceme.
I think I was talking about clusters of berries, or were they racemes of berries? I was getting all of my terminology mixed up. So I went back and had a look, and a raceme refers to the flower parts, not the berry parts. Even if the raceme of flowers blooms and has berries and then becomes berries, it's no longer a raceme of berries. It's a cluster of berries or a lovely bunch of berries, for instance, like grapes, but it's not a raceme of berries. And a raceme is a large axil on a flower that has little pedicels coming off of it with individual flowers. So it's that large. It's like like an elderberry can have that kind of flower, even though it's sort of umbulate, or a hydrangea paniculata.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Right?
Good explanation,
Or a
teacher.
viburnum. Yeah. So there you go.
Viburnum.
Clusters of
So many things.
berries, not racemes of berries. And I love what we learn on this and what we forget too, because I actually came across an article that I wrote on it.
You have some Substack information. I just want to just quickly talk about something that I'm not clearing up, but cleared up for myself because I did a talk today for the lovely Martinsville Garden Clubs, both Martinsville Garden Club, and it was a double club thing. The name of the other garden club was Garden Study, which I thought was such a great name.
I love that. I'm in. Where can I sign up for membership right now?
Yeah. I did a talk on how to get your garden ready for spring, and I wanted to address the thing that a lot of gardeners, you'll recognize this. Should we leave the hollow stems of some of the perennials at this time of year? You might be chopping down things. Turns out that the NC State Extension Office did a 3-year, 2,000 stem study. Now, that might be a 2-year, 3,000 stem study, but either one is impressive. I can't remember exactly which. And they collected all these stems. It turns out that whatever hollow stem you are saving from last year's, summer of 2025's perennial bed will not be inhabited by our native bees next winter or spring. You would have to save them for not 9, but 18 months in order to get any people to fill your vacancy sign. That's not a sacrifice I'm willing to
Yeah.
make, but I mean, maybe someplace in your garden where you're not looking at it or something. But here's some good news that could put a halo back on your head. As long as you have some leaf duff going on and you're leaving parts of your garden undisturbed for insect habitat, it turns out that 70% of our native bees are ground nesting bees, not hollow stem nesting bees. So you're still doing the majority of things right. That's all I have to say on that.
You're still doing good things. Well, that reminds me actually of Margaret Roach's guest Max Ferrado, who has just done a study on leaf insects and leaving the leaves, and we talked about leaving the leaves in a previous episode. He came to the conclusion that there really is no good time to pull those leaves up because there's emergence of insects going all the way through the spring and the summer. And so, just like the study that you're talking about, this has implications for us as gardeners with forests, but it is hard for us to implement these things as gardeners who live perhaps in urban areas or areas that you do actually need to get those leaves up off of things. It's in some
Wait,
places. And
strategy.
yes,
Of
yeah.
course, you need to get them off of your lawns. If you have a lawn, it will suffocate your leaves. So you need to get them off of your patio furniture because nobody wants to sit on wet leaves. But you could leave them on your perennial beds, but cover them with a light or even moderate layer of regular double shredded hardwood bark mulch for that neat look. And so they're there. Don't, put inches and inches. I think that might squish things down in that layer of duff where insects nest. But you could sprinkle some stuff on top of it so the leaves will naturally decompose and feed your soil. But if you don't like the look of them, you're not seeing so many of them. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I agree. I do that, but you do have to be real careful. You don't want to cover those crowns of some plants that really don't like it.
Peonies, irises.
We talked about this in depth, but anyway, it's to realize that there's more than one way of dealing with your garden. Even when there's scientific studies coming in telling you what you can and can't do, you still have to work within the framework of your own garden. That's really important. And actually, Elizabeth Licata on Garden Rant last month had an article about this that I urge people to go and read. I'll put it in the show notes. All right, so guess what, Les?
What?
This episode today, 21st of November, is actually our year anniversary for being on Substack and putting our notes, links, and laughs on Substack. So it's another anniversary. And, back when you and I were dating, I don't know about you, but I wasn't into anniversaries of this, anniversaries of that. Now I see my daughter and they have like the anniversary of the first time they held hands and the anniversary of the first time that
Oh,
they
I'm so disappointed. I thought when you and I were dating, like Marianne and Leslie were dating,
No,
I
no,
was
no,
gonna,
back in the
misty-eyed.
hinterlands in 1931 when we were, dating our husbands.
Alright, so you've ditched me. Okay, go ahead.
I've ditched you.
Yeah.
No, I just think it's funny. There's so many anniversaries for things. So I'm going to do that because I said it was our anniversary of us starting the podcast 2 episodes ago. And now it's the anniversary of being on Substack. And to that end, I have some fantastic statistics. And I'm just going to go for the last 6 months. It's a little bit closer to what's going on. You're not starting from zero. All right.
Okay.
So we have subscribers in 41 states and
Wow,
11 countries.
that's
Two people
crazy.
in France. I mean, that's amazing. So bonjour.
Bonjour,
How did I say that?
merci.
That's right. Oh, geez. I'm going back here.
Je
Um,
m'appelle. Je suis désolée.
nous
Je ne
sommes
parle pas
très
français. Duolingo is not doing you any big
It
favors,
is
I gotta
so
tell you.
bad. I'm going to have to be brushing up before I take people to Normandy. Okay. We have a 221% growth in subscribers. And listen to this
Boom.
one. We have a 5,900% growth in paid subscribers.
Whoa.
That's amazing, which is why you can lie with statistics. You have absolutely no idea which number I started with. So there you go. We have a 60% open rate for our emails, which is really, really good on Substack. That means that you guys actually want to hear from us when we come into your inbox on Fridays and say, hey, there's another episode. So open it up. So that is very, very cool. Every time that somebody becomes a subscriber, they can tell us why on earth they're wasting their time listening to us. So here are the things that they want from us. So take notes, Les. because I don't know if
Okay.
if you're doing all of this. All right, the first one, 85% of them want inspiration and creative ideas. So, I don't know,
Okay.
you need to get out a glue gun or something. 85% want to learn new things along with us.
Yeah, I mean, we're teaching each other every once in a while. I drop a pearl of wisdom that you had previously not heard of, and it's much more often
Very
with you
true.
doing that for me. I love learning from you. It's great.
Thankfully, 75% want to get entertained. So
Good.
that's awesome. And 70% want practical advice and tips. So we got to keep that up. I think we're going well on that. The inspiration and creative ideas. We're going to have to work on that. All
I
right.
know.
But I came up with my own statistics because this is, after all, 2025, and we can do that now. So we have been explicit or displayed behaviors that would shock our mothers 3% of the time. We have pissed off one subset of our multi subsetted audience about 17% of the time. Actually, I've just pissed off my mother again because she really doesn't like the word pissed off. Do you have to bleep that? I don't even know. We mentioned Great Dixter 35% of the time. We got to
Sorry.
keep bringing that down. I know it's just too much of an in
It's a
crowd
bit
there.
much.
Had more than one drink per episode 65% of the time, and you have just brought that to 66% of the time. We pronounced a botanical name incorrectly 99.5% of the time.
Well, yeah, but as long as people can understand it, I think
Yeah.
that's okay. We do our best.
But guess what we did 100% of the time? We had a ton of fun. 100%, baby. Ton of
That's
fun with
awesome.
you, girl. And when we did the Substack Live with our paid subscribers last month, we had a blast. That was fun. We're going to do it again. There you
Yeah.
go.
Thank you, Marianne, for collecting all that data. Did Jane do that or did you do that?
Jane did none of that. I gave her the day off because this episode is all about reflections today. I
Okay.
want to actually go back and ask a couple questions of you. Uh, we tend to, in this culture, we love something and then we never go back and say, well, do we still love it? So tell me about your Lomi. Do you still love your Lomi?
I love my Lomi.
You still, a
It has
year later.
yeah,
Wow.
it's so every piece of kitchen scrap is disappearing into that thing. It doesn't do avocado pits, so oops, sorry about that, but no chicken bones. But everything else, little bits of steak even, cheese, old pizza, vegetables, all the things, coffee grounds go into this thing, and the next morning, you wake up and you have this tiny little bit of what looks like double shredded hardwood bark mulch. It's crazy and easy. It has been banished to the terrace. It was in the laundry room, and my roommate had a deal with that, and I thought, "Oh, well, let's just put it outside." I might banish it to the downstairs garage. No fruit flies, no issues, but a kind of a humusy, moist humidity sort of smell as it's cooking, and he didn't like that, so
This is the roommate you're currently married to.
that guy, yeah, that guy, that wonderful
Okay.
guy, and I don't blame him. I mean, I don't like the smell of his golf shoes either, so he puts those someplace separate for me.
I may have to investigate this, Lomi, because I had a chicken massacre, as you know, a couple months
Okay.
ago. And until the spring, we have no instant eating all of our scraps. And I have a compost pile that I use in the garden. But when I dig those scraps deep into it, I just can't be bothered to put anything more than it just a pile there. And so the dog's just so interested in it. And I was thinking the other day, because what's happening is I'm leaving these things in my compost bucket. I've got two in my kitchen, and they're just staying there a little long because I
Yeah.
just don't want to go to the trouble of digging them in, like really digging them in the way I have to. And it was just so easy to send them to my chickens. So, Lomi could be in my future. The only thing is I really hate having to buy things to make things work. And I think your Lomi, you have to buy like a pot or something.
You can buy an activator. It'll cook longer and at a lower temperature if you want the microbes to be making it so that it is garden compost. I don't know if I really trust that. I just want to get rid of the stuff. I do that every once in a while, but I don't put much stock into that. As long as I'm not putting garbage in garbage, This is what makes me happy. I'm actually the garbage.
So how's that for journalistic integrity, actually? That's hashtag not an ad, folks. We're just revisiting things we've used. And
Yeah.
I think that's important, right?
Yeah, it's a great
Also,
question.
listening to that episode, we need to stop promising that we're going to be taping audio or video wherever we go, because we never do it, because we don't have these little minions walking after us going, Miss Wilburn, turn around and look at the camera. Or Miss Harris, could you just speak into the microphone? No, it's all us.
We shouldn't say that we're going to do it. It's not getting done. No, we do not have staff to make it so it's a mobile podcast. Hey, speaking of our podcast, you know that you get this big episode and we love it when you listen to that. If you want more, we do an in-between bi-weekly, one topic, one more sip, and you can become part of our One More Sip committed community. And it's just a tiny bit of money, like not even $5 a month. And so go to Substack and see if you would like to sign up for that.
I want to make a prediction here. Listeners, if you are watching us on YouTube and you're seeing the difference in my office versus Leslie's little studio there, and Leslie was kind enough to rub it in my face that this is a reflection on our personalities.
In a complimentary way, you dum-dum.
No, it's not.
Yes, I have the Home Goods poster and this cheerful green wall with nothing on it, and you...
Cheerful being the key word there. I look like I'm in the house of Usher right now. You know, Edgar Allan Poe is about to come through the door.
There's a lot of intellectual property in your background, and it looks far more interesting. It's like, these are our minds. That's yours. It's dark, dusty, full of good thoughts.
This is my very dark,
and this is my mind.
Cluttered
like,
mind.
Hey, what am I doing today? Oh, it looks like I have an appointment. Let's go.
I really got to invest in uplighting somewhere in this room. My prediction is Erin will be like this beautiful synthesis of the two. She'll be happy and cheerful, and it'll be really this sexy color.
And here we have somebody else to talk to, so we won't fight. Yay!
Do I need to break it up in here or what?
And look, she's got a cheerful background. I told you she would. She's got a cheerful background.
Yeah, it is.
I would like to show this. I would like the award for best accessorizing of a cocktail.
Did you grow that?
I did grow that, and I saved it for this.
Yes, you are so winning.
Amazing, girl. Cheers.
This is a pineapple Tom Collins.
You grew that pineapple?
I did.
Nicely done.
It's like my proudest moment right now is my pineapple. Not
We're
enough
proud of
pineapple
you.
there to actually make a cocktail with, but enough pineapple to be an excellent garnish.
Welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm absolutely great. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're good. Have you had that first frost? I read your latest newsletter. You haven't had it.
It's not in the forecast yet either.
Okay.
But they sneak up on you. A lot of times they're not in the forecast, and so you get overconfident. And then you get, a little surprise, which is not
I
great.
saw you got the ficus tree in, though. Oh, my God. The wrestling match is over.
Yeah, I've been injured. The ficus injured me.
How bad?
My back is absolutely broken right now. So I'm hoping it eases up by the weekend so I can go out and, do more work in the garden. This is not a good time of year to not be able to lift heavy things, right, Marianne?
Yeah, can you ixnay a little bit on the ACBay pay so that I've got a book to sell, okay? So people don't need to know the reality of bringing these plants in, okay? It's all sweetness and light. They magically come inside.
very, very easy. Everything was fine. Actually, it was not the actual moving of it in. I had to repot it. Well, actually, I had to root prune it and stick it back in the pot. All of which I know is at the wrong time of year, but we do these things when we can. And it was the getting it out of the pot that was where the injury was sustained.
I'm sorry.
It's all that forward motion. You can do it when you're 30, and you do it, and you think, what's wrong with these old hags that tell you not to?
That was actually my first thought when that happened. I thought, years ago, I would have thought, what's the problem? But
this happens to all of us. Look, we're a good representation of it happens to all of us. So how's the puppy, Erin? How is puppy life? Almost finished now, I imagine.
Well, he's like 1 year and 3 months now. So he is the size of an enormous Newfoundland. So he's probably like 140 pounds because he's kind of skinny. And he's like a wrecking ball. He has no brakes. So the only way he ever stops is by physically running into something, which is often a human being. That
Oh.
said, we have graduated. The cookbooks are once again safe in the kitchen. For a while, there was some cookbook eating, and I feel comfortable actually touching up the trim paint in the house over the
Okay.
winter because I feel like we're done
Chewing.
chewing on things and scratching at trim. So
Yeah.
I had some cookbook damage myself and some trim damage actually, and I am not repainting it for another couple months. I think that we're past it, but they trick you. They're like the first frost.
yeah, right.
So what's the mystery with cookbooks? So do we just traditionally store them down low? I don't really have any at
I've
this
got
stage in my
about
life.
350, so they're
Oh,
low.
I don't have that many. Mine are
okay.
low in a little, specially built little bookcase in the kitchen, but I think it's because they taste good. Because they do
Oh,
go for the
because your fingers
they
were
do
on
go
the
for the
stuff.
cookbooks that are most often used, and the pages that have, how you can
Yeah.
find the page in the cookbook by just plopping it on a table. It opens up to the one that's all crunchy and got stuff all over it. Yeah, I think it's because they taste good.
Yeah, that makes good sense. So how did the
Yeah.
season go? We both went back and listened to the episode. I was in the car a lot today, so I was like, oh yeah, I can listen to this. The episode that we did with you last winter, and you and Marianne made all sorts of promises that you probably fulfilled. And I was like,
Well, I
oh,
did.
I bet Erin did too. I mean, Erin always grows wonderful things. Do you remember that you talked about building new gardens in order to keep yourself from being impatient about how a formerly new garden is coming along? How's that working out?
I extended a garden this year.
Yeah.
And actually, every once in a while, I go, oh, maybe I have actually picked up some things over the years because it was just a little triangle extension of a garden. And it was, I feel like it was kind of genius. It looks like it
Oh.
always should have been there. I avoided it for years and years and years because I didn't want to. I just am so sick of removing sod. And obviously, there's other ways to get rid of sod, but none of them are really all that pleasant or perfect. So, anyway, that's why I put it off for so many years. And I finally did it. And I'm like, oh, well, I should have done that 10 years ago because now it all makes sense. So that was wildly successful as far as garden projects go. And I do have another garden extension already in the works for next year.
Wow. I mean,
That's a big wow. I'm curious because I do the same thing as I build these beds and I love all of them, but I am starting to feel the weight of what I've committed to with a lot of them. And some of them are heavily shrubbed, and so there's so much less maintenance there. But things still need to be pruned. They still need to be weeded, especially with bindweed and that type of thing that gets underneath. But I'm wondering if you feel any weight on you from all of the different gardens, or if you're still feeling like, nope, I got this. I'm good. You don't have any help in the garden, do you?
I have somebody who helps about 5 hours a week in like spring and summer, and who's going to come back tomorrow and help me plant all the things that I don't think I'm able to physically get in the ground anymore. So, because there's a few things still hanging out there, but that's it. I would take her full time if I could,
uh,
because goodness knows there'd be enough. There would be enough to do. To answer your question though, I do feel the weight.
Mhm.
I have this sick urge to keep, like, a great idea comes along. I'm like, I have to do that because like this is such a good improvement, and that's why I do it. I guess I realized a fair bit ago that I've definitely gotten to the point where my garden will be a liability if we ever try to sell this house because nobody is going to want this. When I'm putting things in, it's mostly shrubs, or certainly a good percentage of shrubs, and then beyond that, pretty much easy care perennials. I'm trying to avoid anything that goes in a maintenance category beyond that, although it's all maintenance no matter what. There is no maintenance plants, but
Yeah.
no, I absolutely feel overwhelmed by it, and I guarantee you about halfway through that project I'll go, why did I think this was a good idea? This is what I do.
This is how we are
Yeah.
geared. But I can tell you from being on the other side now, it was only 2 years ago that I moved away kicking and screaming, but realizing that we had to, from that huge big garden that I was nowhere near finished with. That really made an impact on the people that bought the house. It was in a good neighborhood, so it sold very quickly, but over 50% of the people that came to look at it went, no, I don't even understand how you would do that. And I knew how to simplify it, and I was willing to teach somebody if they really wanted the house but were overwhelmed by the garden. Turns out that the people who bought it were interested in the garden, so that's good. But that was lucky. And I don't know, you guys. I'm older than both of you, and there will be a time when small is good.
Oh, I believe it. I will never, if should we ever move, I will never do this again. I would never start over at an enormous scale. That said, I've just sort of resigned myself to, if we ever leave this house, I just will never drive by it again. I just will make it a point to never look at it again, because I know it would be absolutely soul crushing, because I know it's not going to be a good scene.
Yeah, it's an existential thing, isn't it? Like, what's
Mhm.
the point of doing all this work if you know that it's going to be bulldozed or it's going to be put down to turf in the future? And you really have to come to terms with, I'm doing this because this is creative energy, this is learning, this is in the here and now. It's joy to other people. Sometimes it's joy to me. No, I'm kidding. It's all those things you have to really, it's all about the present and the excitement of the future, because boy, it really is going to probably be put to turf
No doubt, gardens are temporary. They are our joy, and
there.
you get that joy out of them. I talked to a neighbor whose house looks right down into my old garden. He called about something, a recommendation or something, and I said, "Oh, how's my crazy garden?" And he goes, "Well, the front looks neat all the time, but the back, she has 16 man hours there every week to try to keep it, and it's hard for them." And I'm like, "Okay, good to talk to you. Bye."
I know why we extend our gardens and why you're doing those beds and why I'm doing them. We've just done a bunch of clearing above my vegetable garden, which was just invasive understory because we're putting in a deer fence. And I see that it's so exciting, but I see that hillside, and it is my south-facing hillside. If I could have any type of thing in this valley that even resembles a south-facing hillside, that's it. The sun hits it a little bit earlier, and even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, I think south-facing hillside, Mediterranean shrubs.
What can
All
I
this stuff goes through my head, and you can hardly stop yourself of thinking there's a new way to learn to garden here. I want to try out something, and you just stop it, stop it, stop it. It's terrible. All right, so what were your biggest disappointments this year, Erin?
Well, in general, and this is not specific to me, and I don't even think it's specific to our area based on the comments I heard from people. I'll be interested to hear what you guys say about this. But something about this gardening season ended up with everything being so late. Everything was so incredibly late this year. So my biggest disappointment was my dahlias, which honestly just started blooming in earnest a month ago, maybe. I mean,
Oh,
like late September. It was particularly disappointing in my front border. That's the little skinny bed by the patio by my window box, because I really packed that with a ton of dahlias. And of course, that's like the part of the house you see. That's like the main focal point. And there's been nothing there. And still a lot of them are not doing anything. Really disappointing year for dahlias for me, just in terms of performance. Right now, like I just picked this weekend, I went through the garden. I kind of, how you give up a little bit. I
yeah.
mean, you guys have never done that, I'm sure. But I definitely, at some point, I definitely go, okay, we're all done. I know the jig's up. I know what's coming. So I had sort of stopped deadheading things a little bit. So this weekend, I went through and I tried to deadhead a bunch of stuff. And then I picked every good looking dahlia I could. And I made 2 huge bouquets, which, of course, dahlia bouquets you pick at this time of year don't last long at all. But I picked everything I could and finally got like a big, huge bucket of dahlias. But boy, it was long in coming this year. And it really has me rethinking, I just can't trust them. Oh, don't worry, they're still coming back. I'm just not going to do so many in that main front border. I think I'm going to reinvent. I've been doing dahlias there with other annuals for, oh gosh, I don't know, 12 years now, probably. So maybe it's time to try something else there for next year, because this is a pretty disappointing year as far as that goes.
Is there anything you can put your finger on, or you've talked to other gardeners who had theories about why this might have happened?
We had a very cool spring, long and cool spring. So everything was a little slow to get going. And we didn't really have a lot of, we just don't get super hot weather I mean, I'm not complaining about that. We didn't have a lot of hot weather in there. I don't know what it was, but I feel like that cold spring really set a lot of things back to the point where they spent a month and a half, 2 months trying to catch up again. That's my theory
Okay,
anyway.
so cold soil just never heated up in
soil.
the schedule that you wanted them to. And did you notice any microclimate sort of situations where these ones are near the house or hardscape or whatever, protected, where they might have gone a little better? Was there
No,
any
there
intel
was
like that?
no rhyme or reason to spots that worked and because if there is a microclimate, it's that skinny little bed. I mean, that is south facing between a white house and a patio and a concrete patio.
That should do it.
That should, if anything, is going to be a microclimate, and that was among the worst performers. Although, to be fair, I do a lot of very tall growing, big flowering dahlias in that bed because they're so showy and I like them there. And those are often the latest ones to start to begin with. They're not nearly as early as some of those smaller flowering ones. So to be fair, that counts against that area a little.
My dahlias were a lot later this year, but we were so much drier this year. And I was gone for a month of time when we were exceptionally dry and they didn't get extra water. And so it really set them back for that later in the season. I've had the same situation as you, but maybe for slightly different reasons.
Yeah, I wonder, it was pretty dry here for spells too, and I wonder if that maybe doesn't account for some of it, although not the ones again by the house because that's the one spot in the garden I have drip irrigation, so it wasn't there. But I wonder, I'm sure that probably contributed to some of the issues here as well.
If you're a new gardener listening to this and you want to try dahlias, just realize that they're heavy feeders and they're very thirsty. When I ran my business, I start with that phrase all the time. But I did do a lot of gardens and, I instructed the crew to always give extra food and water to dahlias so they would perform so my clients would be happy. And it's time consuming. I mean, you could do it weekly and they'd love it. They're greedy buggers, aren't they? I want to know, Marianne, because having listened to our talk from last winter, you were, I want to try that. I want to try that. Snapdragons. Did you do it? Did you bring them from seed?
I did. Of the 3 things that I said I would do, those were amaranth and snapdragons and, of course, sweet peas. Sweet peas. And
Okay, we're going to hear more about that, I'm sure.
yeah, it's sweet peas. Puh. I'm going to spit when I say that. The snapdragons were the least disappointing this year. Let's put it that way. They and actually they're blooming right now and they're beautiful. And it's that double bicolor from AS Erin that we talked about. And I got them in pretty soon after we talked in February. And unfortunately, this is definitely a user error issue, is that I did not transplant them quickly. They stayed in those little cells too long, not enough fertilizer. And so it took them a little bit of time to get where they needed to be. And I didn't pinch them. I was away in May. I can't remember where I was. Was I in England? I don't know. Leslie, tell me, where was I?
Yes, you were in England.
Remember. I was
I'm guessing.
somewhere and I didn't get to them. And so I just sort of thought, you know what? This is going to be the Leslie way of doing things, where I cut them back. And this is going to be a fall display. This is going to be all about the fall and maybe even about next spring. Who knows? They might make it through this winter. We don't know, but put them in the ground and they are blooming right now.
Oh, good. No rabbit worries, no deer worries.
They are actually ironically right next to the topiary snail turned rabbit. I've decided it's got to be a rabbit because I don't really have a snail problem, but I'm beginning to have a rabbit problem and they haven't found them yet. So we'll see. That was definitely a semi-success.
I was just going to ask, Erin, are snapdragons always on your list? Will you do them again this winter?
I will, although I will say mine were not particularly successful this year. They were just kind of okay. You know, this thing that we do as gardeners, which is where the first time you grow something, you try really hard to grow it correctly and to do everything right. And then you have wild success with it. You're like, oh, that wasn't so hard. And so the next year, you're like, just put them in, they're fine. And then you sort of walk away. I feel like maybe that's what I did with the snapdragons this year. But yes, snapdragons will always be on my list. They're great.
They're great plants. Listeners, you can tell that I've taken on the role of moderator here because
you didn't grow any snapdragons this year, did you? What did you grow from seed this year, Leslie?
She didn't even pretend to order the seeds. She didn't even pull the website up.
Wait. There was something that I did. I pretend like I'm from the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, and I get hyacinth bean vines, and I go and I thumb them into various places in my garden. And they did come up. I did the same thing with the moon vine, Ipomea, or however you say that. And nothing came up. So I think I've got my own seeds off my own vines that were successful last summer. I think I need to go shopping for better seeds. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Maybe. Or they just didn't get warm enough. They didn't germinate. That's a very hard seed coat on that moonflower. So did you soak them and do all that?
I didn't. Yeah, that was me. Listeners, for information, for these hard-coated seeds, you can nick them with a nail file. You can soak them, something that enables the germination more easily. And yeah, I definitely could cut corners on that. So yeah, let's get back to your failure, Marianne. Amaranth.
Erin gave us so much great information on all three of these wonderful plants. And if listeners, if you're interested, please go back to that. We'll link to it in the show notes. But growing amaranth, growing sweet peas, growing the other one, the snapdragons. The amaranth, I got as far as ordering the seeds and thinking about them. That's as far as I got. I got them ordered. I own the seeds. They'll probably be completely pointless to have next year. Despite all those beautiful pictures of this man holding great armfuls. And then just to rub salt in the wound, I saw Luke Sr. at Dickster with like the carbon copy of that picture, except for he's even more handsome than the other young man who was holding the amaranth. And just beautiful, gorgeous, didn't do any of it. Did you do any amaranth, Erin?
Well, kind of, because I am fortunately in the position now where it self-seeds. So I don't have to plant any. And so it just pops up in my raised beds or around my raised beds. So this year I had, and I don't even remember all of the varieties that are in. One of them is dreadlocks. They get like 8 feet tall, and they racemes, flowers. What are the, when they...
We were just discussing this. Yeah, I guess they were raceme flowers. Yeah.
I ended up using a lot of them actually in fall containers. I cut them off and stuck them in there where they kind of dried in fall containers, and it was kind of a fun place to use them. So now that I have those in my fall containers, including like the urn in the middle of my garden, I imagine I will have amaranth there next year because it seems to be doing a great job of just planting itself around, which I adore plants like that because now I never have to, that's just one I can not have to worry about and put on the list.
I had that with Mirabilis this year. I had Salmon Sunset, which I absolutely adore, coming back for me without me having to do a damn thing about it. And I love that. Tell me though, with the amaranth, were they true to what you had originally planted?
Most of them were. There was one in there that was, not true. It was some kind of boring oddball, but most of them came true.
Cool. So Erin, I wanted to ask out of all the seeds that we discussed for last year, and we talked in January, I think, and perhaps you had already planned and purchased all of your seeds. Were there any plants that surprised you this season?
Well, I'll tell you, in general, my seed starting was not particularly great this year, and I believe that's because I've been working off of some old seed stash for a long time. Things were just not germinating as well as, this is again one of these confidence things. You get this confidence, it's so easy. And then you're like, why isn't it? I'm doing the same thing I've been doing. What's wrong? So I have decided that this coming year, I will be like, I'm just going to order everything new. I'm just going to start with fresh seed across the board, except for a few like tomato seeds kind of last forever, I think. But like special variety of things that would be hard to get or things I grow a ton of varieties of. But for flower seeds, I'm going to just go buy all new seeds this year. The main surprise I think that I had this year was that, can we talk about, because I'm going to talk about sweet peas. Is that okay?
Sorry. Yeah.
Just drink your drink and let her talk.
La, 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 la. Anyway,
okay.
This oddly cool season was not good for dahlias, but very good for sweet peas. So even last week, I had some sweet peas blooming. Just am I digging it in a little bit too much?
You
there,
are,
Marianne?
and not to mention the picture that you texted Leslie and I, which was just cruel and unusual. I mean, people don't know this side of you, Erin. And I think it's our business to let people know the real Erin.
Yeah.
Having trouble with your sweet peas? Check this out.
Look at this. Check out my photo. Yeah. Well, it was an unusually good year for sweet peas. So that was quite delightful. And I could not believe when I was out in the very much unkempt vegetable garden, which has been basically just left to fend for itself for quite some time now until I get out there this coming weekend. There were still some sweet peas blooming, not a lot, but a few. And normally
Wow.
normally by August, it's
No
all
good. Yeah.
crisped up and it's mostly all over on their way out. So that was the flip side of that cool gardening season coin, was that at least I got some good sweet peas. Right, Marianne?
Yeah, I'm so happy for you, Erin. Yeah, almost done with this gin and tonic, working on the next one. So I started out with a great deal of promise with these. I got that Prince of Orange. I got this lovely purple one that I can't remember the name of. And they germinated well. I put them into deep pots. The root development was gorgeous. And I even, as I left to wherever the heck I was going, I still can't remember, for like 2, 3 weeks, looked at them, looked great. When I got back, they still looked great because I told Michael, of all the things I need you to look after, these are the big ones. And I even pinched them and, went back to the Matt Mattis school of, doing the pinching and all that sort of thing. And then I put them in the ground. And it all just went to hell. First off, I hadn't built a trellis for either one of them properly. I just sort of put these bamboo sticks and then sort of made a cone with them and some twine really quick. One of them never even got twined because it really wasn't developing. But I realized early on as they started to try and find their way out that I really needed to plant them inside the teepee and not on the outside of the teepee because they don't want to go straight up until they hit something that they really want to climb. And they don't really want to climb the bamboo. So it would have been easier to corral them in the middle. And then from that point on, they just started deteriorating. They were getting brown. I think there were some issues with water, like it wasn't as consistent as it could have been. But bottom line, they just disappointed me the way that I knew they would. I'm sorry, I'm a little verklempt.
We'll just give her a moment. I did.
And then you come along with that picture, Erin.
Oh, God.
Very
And I
disappointing.
actually did kind of maybe led you down the garden path on those because I have grown them successfully south of you, more humid than you, a little bit more hot than you. I don't know why it worked for me, but it certainly didn't work for long. It's not like Erin's success or England's success with sweet peas. But there was a month of glory and several posies. So, and that was in a place in the garden that I couldn't really get to, no extra water, not assiduous deadheading. So I don't know if you might want to try them again in a different spot. I have a question for you, Erin. I have this retaining wall in my bowling alley garden. What if I were to plant sweet peas on the top of the wall and let them dringle down? Would they do it or they only want to grow up?
I don't know the answer for sure, but I have had them sort of flop out of the raised bed before on me and
Okay.
sort of do that same sort of thing, and they've been fine. I don't think they look I don't think they look as nice, obviously.
Okay.
But I mean, since I don't actually corral mine in any way either.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, I don't.
So you put them on the outside of the, okay.
I do. And then I just take a little bit of twine and I just kind of loosely tie them up. And then I tie them up a little bit more. And then once they get going, they climb kind of up themselves. It's be way better to have a proper trellis for sure. But anyway, I guess what I was trying to say is I wouldn't blame it on that. So
There's just so many places to put the blame, mostly
Yes.
with me, sure. But I think it was more of a disappointment than other things in the garden this year because they looked so promising. The roots looked so good. I was just like, "Oh, I am so doing this year. It's going to happen." And then for it to really just poop out like that was hard. It was hard to watch. But I think one of my problems is I grow a lot of peas, a snap peas, snow peas. I'm almost like you're phoning it in. Like I'll put them in the ground. I'm great with peas. I'll be great with these, but they're not the same thing. Completely different seed. I think they're the same family, but they're not the same genus. And, they can't be dealt with the same way. So anyway, I don't know if I've learned a lesson. I sort of feel now like it's personal. And I want to win.
Gardening
I'm
is a
concerned.
competition, for God's sakes.
Yeah, it is. It is. Oh, I
I
can
know.
tell you about a failure. I can make you feel better. You grow a lot of hydrangeas because you talk about the hydrangification, Erin, of the United States, which I think is one of the best words ever created. Is your favorite, or it just depends on the place, maybe Macrophylla, arborescens, paniculata? Do you have a fave, like a go-to?
Well, I like them all, but I think arborescens and paniculata are equally easy. Like I've really gotten into Haas Halo arborescens.
It's a good one, yeah.
It's such a good one. I love that lace cap on it. And then also I've been growing, I think it's new this year, Flowerful.
Flowerful, me too.
So far, I love it. It's been in the ground for me for about a year and 2 months. I planted it about last September. I ripped out all of my Annabelles, good old fashioned Annabelle, and I put in Flowerful. And so far, it's great. But that's 1 year growing. The jury is still out for sure on those.
What's the difference? I don't know Flowerful at all. It's an
Strong.
So
arborescens.
it's like a lot of these. It's very similar in look to Annabelle. It's bred to have stiffer stems, as they all claim to be, honestly.
Yeah.
But what I like about it is that, unlike some of the other ones that have been bred for that, this has flowers that are approximately the same size as Annabelle, which is one of the things I like about it. I mean, some of those with like these enormous like bowling ball or basketball size flowers were a little too much. So I like that. But the other thing is it keeps producing flowers. This thing has been pumping out new flowers all summer long. So there's still some kind of fresh, newer flowers sitting on there right now, which is nothing I had ever experienced with Annabelle before.
Okay, I have experienced that with Annabelles. When I grew them well in my last garden, I felt like they were zinnias, cut and come again. 6 weeks later, I'm
really?
going to get fresh. Yeah. So were the newer flowers that came at the end of the summer for your flowerful, were they because you cut, or just
No.
maybe they just were happy? No.
I didn't cut them. The deer probably helped a little
Got 'em.
bit.
Yeah.
There was some deer activity, so the deer may have contributed to that effort, but I didn't cut any. So
Okay. Did you grow that one, Marianne?
I'm always dismissive of Leslie's Annabelle, so I'm very glad to hear you're dismissive as well, Erin. I hate the floppiness of it, and I've really shied away from a lot of arborescens, but I do like Hans Hollow and this Flowerful. I've had it in the ground for a year too, and it's actually been in a drier spot than it would probably like, and it's still doing well. And those stems are pretty strong. So jury is out, but it's looking good right now. I mean, I've been disappointed by plants that were in the ground for a year, and I thought, this is it. And then, they aged out, they got whatever. But I'm looking forward to seeing how it does.
Well, back to my failure, I lined the top of that wall with arborescens, and they weren't Annabelle. They were smaller, and like the mini rosette one, the 4 different names, 2 were pink, 2 were white, and some were bigger, some were smaller. One was lace cap. I can't remember. They were crispy fried this summer, so I think a total failure. So I'm going to rearrange them and get them in a bit more shade, the most crispy of them. Some of them were okay. And I am going with you, Marianne, with that baby lace, and I ordered 3
Oh, are
of
you
those.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it's like a 5-footer, right? You're good with that kind of height?
Well, I'm going to prune the
Okay.
heck out of it, and I'll keep it probably smaller than that if I can.
You can,
So, we'll
I
see.
bring mine down to 18 inches in the spring, and they are still easily 5 feet. But
Okay.
it's a great, oh man, I love that. I love that one. It's a terrific
Do you grow that one,
paniculata.
Erin?
I do not grow that. I don't even know that one. I'm kind of looking it up right now.
She basically
Yeah,
talks about
it's
it every other episode, so I figured I should
every
bow
once in a
to
while
this
you get a
pressure.
trial plant. Yeah, that you just go, oh wow, this is great. And I grow a lot of paniculata, and that one really stands out to me. It's Gardener's Confidence Collection, and I received one as a trial many years ago. But I have received other hydrangeas as trials and not been as thrilled as I was with that one. So it's a good one. But it's hard to find because they just don't have the
Marketing.
marketplace. Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it?
Do
Yeah.
either of you grow hydrangea involucrata? I think, is that how you pronounce it? Involucrata?
Involucrata, I believe, is what you say.
So the reason I ask is because I was over in Michigan in August and went to the Spring Meadow display garden there, and they have hydrangea involucrata blue bunny, kind of right at the
That's
entrance.
where I've heard of it, and yes, we both grow it. That's it. I
And you like
remember
that blue.
looking at that.
No. Bluebird is the serrata. Blue Bunny is the smaller one,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
No,
Right,
it's
but you and
it's
I
quite
both grow
Blue
Blue
Bunny was
Bunny.
quite big. It was wide and about 4 feet tall, maybe. I would say,
Mhm,
it was
mhm.
here. It had buds that looked like peony buds. And some of them in sort of this quite late to flower apparently, but some of them in these various stages of opening, it was so gorgeous. So of course I immediately they're like, well, it's a zone 6, which theoretically I'm a zone 6, but that's always pushing it. And I go on this epic hunt because you know how that goes. Must have it. Well, as it turns out, they own the patent on that plant. They bought the patent on that plant, and they are no longer producing it. So you cannot get blue.
Oh,
You cannot get blue bunny. You can get other hydrangea involucratas, but you cannot get blue bunny anymore. And someone told me that after everybody who walks in there just ogles over this plant that they're
The
thinking
patent
about.
is still
Yes,
and it
it's
will
still
be for
valid?
until we're
it is
dead.
so valid.
God.
Yeah. So
So, Marianne, do you remember me talking about this when we said, we have the section, damn, I wish I planted that, and it was my Blue Bunny, and that's why I sort of remembered that it was not an arborescens, it was not a microphylla, it is an involucrata, and you grow that too, Marianne, right?
No, I grow Bluebird, which is a serrata and is I
Oh,
know all of these names, right? And that has a award of garden merit from the RHS.
not
And
well.
yeah,
So
you picked
when
it
I
for a
did
damn I
plant
wish.
of the week, I did, but no, I picked Blue Bunny. I did not pick Bluebird.
I think we'll check tape on that, okay?
Yeah, we will. And I was so all over what Erin just said about these buds. Excuse me, I have a pet. Fruit fly is after my bourbon. Um, these buds that look like Ito peony buds in August, and it hasn't even started yet. And that is what I grow. And if you don't grow that, sorry.
Well,
Sorry
yeah,
for
well,
both of you.
I'm thinking I have to go back and change the show notes because of your lapse in memory. If it's Blue Bunny you like and not Blue Bird, we'll go back
Always Blue
as the
Bunny. All
journalists
right,
we
I
are.
totally hijacked the conversation and we went into hydrangeafication land. Let's talk about other plants.
Yes.
How did the bananas do this year, Erin?
Oh, the bananas had a good year.
Yeah.
The bananas had a great year. Now, the only thing is that I did um lose one of the stored bananas. So the OG original banana, the first one that Marianne influenced me to get, that one did great. That one's looking great. It's still looking great. That one goes in the ground in the corner of the garden, looks fabulous. But the other one that I had overwintered, that one did not overwinter well. I potted it up and brought it in. I think I actually talked to you about it, Marianne. And I think you said just cut it all the way back.
Mhm.
That is for people with potentially more patience than me. So I just bought a new one. But that, but
The impatient gardener.
but that one is enormous, and I do think that one's growing in the big pot by the front door. I do think it's the biggest one I've ever had in that pot. That is not coming in. I am going to embrace Mary Ann's advice, which is that you don't have to save everything. And the one thing that makes me feel good about doing that is that I'm seeing these bananas relatively frequently in garden centers now. So I have a good degree of confidence that I'll be able to find it again. I think the first one I bought, the OG, was I think $35. I think this one was $45, $50. $50 for that 12-foot monstrosity that's sitting outside my front door in a 3-foot tall pot. So it's 15 feet up in the air. I think that's money well spent. And given the current back situation, maybe we don't try to muscle that thing
Yeah.
back in the house.
Amortization, cost per linear foot, all these
Something
things.
like that.
Yeah, I like it. I like
Yeah.
it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, my big guy is had his last season this year, and I've got a new one that had been a pup I cut off of a damaged Enseti that had because it was damaged, it pupped, and I cut from that. And I found, just sort of cut into the bulb of the plant, that corm of the plant low, and got a new one from that. And then the interesting thing about that this year is that that plant is pupping. And SETI really don't tend to do that until they're damaged. So I'm like, is there something now in this plant's mind that it has been damaged, will be damaged? I don't know. But it was just fascinating to look at it this year and go, Oh, there's another one coming up off of it and off of a grown plant. So that's a nice, easy 6 or 7 foot plant that I don't have any problem bringing in. But the 14, 15 foot guy in the hugelkultur, I'm just going to cut it down and not dig it, not bring it in. And I am cutting it down because for listeners who are working with bananas, if you leave it in the garden, even though you want to leave it to die, it's going to get slimy and just a mess. You think it's difficult to deal with now. It is really difficult if it's gone through a frost and freeze and snow and all of that. So it's just easier if you just do sort of a timber on it and cart that off to a compost pile. And it is really easy to cut. It's not hard
It's so
to
easy to
cut.
cut with a serrated saw. It's just like
Yeah.
and those logs of banana are so heavy and full of juice. And then you take them to the compost pile and you're like, wow, I don't have to water my compost pile today because I'm putting logs of banana on them. I have a question about, because I could leave my moose basju in the ground, but in this world of planting them in the hugel culture, or with you, Erin, somewhere in your garden. So you're digging that hole. You dig the thing up, you bring it in. What happens to that hole over the winter? Do you just fill it with leaves or something?
I just leave a hole.
Okay. That's a hole.
I just leave
Good
a
to know.
hole and
Bit of
hope that no
compost.
dog fall. I mean, it's always shocking. It doesn't leave that big of a hole because there's the roots on those things there's not much there.
Shallow.
It doesn't go down that far. By the time you dig it up, and any soil, it kind of shake the soil off. It's more of a
Okay.
Yeah,
of a
they're
of a
like
depression.
Okay. Interesting.
they're like little Tyrannosaurus Rex arms. They're like this,
Yeah,
Oh,
the roots
yeah.
off of an unsteady or a
like this?
Hey, you know what? I have a proposal. We normally, Erin, at the end of the show, do a damn I wish I planted that. And we do it for people who are looking at plants that they might see in other people's gardens and it's blooming or it's looking amazing or it's doing something right now. And you think, oh, wow, I should have planted that in my garden right now. So we each have one of those for end of November when this drops. And you want to join us on that? Do you have one that you
Sure.
might want to think about? All right, so we'll give you some time to think about it.
Okay.
Leslie, you want to go first?
Sure.
And
Yeah. Mine's pretty boring,
all
but it's a
right.
good plant. End of November. And this is, I thought to myself, well, if we don't have time to do damn, I wish I planted that now, I can use this all winter because it is a great winter plant. And it's an Ilex crenata and it's the sky pencil. And I've used it successfully 3 different ways. So this is an extremely columnar, very skinny evergreen plant that at a glance, if you're a new gardener, you might think, oh, what an interesting boxwood, but it's a crenata. And so if you look closely at those little not boxwood leaves, they are sort of crenellated and they're sort of ridgy on the edges. Deer don't eat it. I bought dozens of them for clients to use as a centerpiece for container plantings. And then if a client didn't want it, and they often didn't because they are very columnar, and sometimes I was the garden designer making that decision, or sometimes I would say, shall I plant this for you someplace else? It might look good here. And they would say no. So guess who ended up with a lot of Ilex crenata sky pencils in her back hillside woodland garden. And they just made me so happy in winter because they were exclamation points of dark green coming out of the brown leaf duff. Like, oh, there's another one. There's another one. Kind of weird, kind of cool. The third way I use them very successfully is make an excellent straight line. Let's cover up the air conditioner handler thing. And I did that for a lot of clients. And just some info on there. They are particularly particular about where they want to grow. Only zones 6, 7, and 8. Isn't that weird? I didn't know that. That's
Oddly
very
a
specific.
small
particular.
range. Yeah. Spreads to 1 to 3 feet. And when I read that, I'm like, they don't get as wide as 3 feet. And then I'm like, oh no, remember that one client? And these were incredibly mature. So I never have grown them to that width, 3 feet wide. I actually did take care of 2 of them matching by the front door that were very, very old, well over 10 feet tall. We had to take the orchard ladder when it was time to prune those guys. You had to reach in. They were very thick. We had to use twine. They were enormous. But I think of them, a regular sort of middle-aged one, as being only about a foot thick. And the ones that I have here at this garden, which really give me some privacy from neighbors, are probably only about a foot wide. And they are full sun to part shade, and they can take a little wet soil. So Ilex crenata sky pencil, and they are they just reach right up to the sky like a pencil. So that's what I got.
So, Les, I have a question for you. On that one that was 3 feet, was it a little bit sparse? Was it a little leggy down
No,
below?
you could see a good trunk with the first 5, 6 inches, and then it
Okay.
just went crazy. And I wish I could take credit for the beautiful growth of this thing. We actually really had to reach in to remove some dead wood on the inside, but also just to thin it on the inside so that we could control it so it wouldn't sprawl. And then we would very subtly use twine to keep it from moving in the wind. So it just looked like this big, weird pencil. It wasn't, I like mine to look a little bit more natural. This is what these people wanted. It was an interesting garden task.
Cool. The deer eat mine, but they won't soon. Ha 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 ha. All right. Are you ready, Erin, or shall I go first?
I think you should go.
All right. Still going around in your brain. All right. So, fall garden, and I am picking Yucca filamentosa color guard, which
Great plant.
is one of my favorite yuccas. If you don't grow it, think about it, because it's zones 5 to 10, and it's one of those almost indestructible plants. It does beautifully in drought. It's about 2 feet tall, I'd say, mature, and maybe a 2.5 foot spread. It's a spiky, beautiful accent in the summer garden, in the spring garden, in the fall garden. And the winter, it it is still beautiful. It just doesn't have the same sort of erect stature because it's maybe a little bit pushed down by, here and there. For you, Erin, I imagine it would be pushed down a little more than for me. It's just not as gorgeously erect, but it's still looking great. And at the end of November, it's looking terrific. It is variegated yellow and green, and it propagates beautifully. Wait a minute. Is it patented? No, it's not patented. It propagates.
Please
Think
no.
about this for a minute.
We don't want to go to jail.
Hashtag going to jail. Um, it propagates beautifully from root cuttings, which you probably know if you've dug it up and moved it somewhere else and still had it sprouting somewhere. It is not monocarpic. Most yucca are not monocarpic, which means that it flowers. When it flowers, it doesn't die, like a lot of agave or others in that agave family. Most yuccas don't. So if it flowers for you, that's great. It may pup, and that may complicate that beautiful structure that you want. But a lot of times I just get in there in the spring with the knife and slicey the things that I don't want to see. And again, it propagates beautifully from root cuttings. So I think actually I'm going to wear a halo on this one because Yucca filamentosa is a native plant from southeastern or southwestern US, I believe. But I'm going to be in two worlds here because the actual cultivar was bred in Japan. So where does that leave us? I don't know.
Oh, God. We're so
It
confused.
leaves us with a beautiful plant for the late fall garden. Erin, your turn.
Well, I have a question on the yucca first. So,
Oh,
can you just stick that in? I mean, what's the soil situation for that? Can you stick that in anywhere in the garden? Is it pretty adaptable, or do you need to be looking for really good drainage for that?
I'd
I
say
think
the
really
latter.
good drainage. Yeah, really good drainage. I have it in my hugelkultur bed, which is a richer soil, and it's not as happy there as it is in poorer soils. It still grows. It really loves the sun, so it's looks its best. And again, my full sun is 7, 8 hours, maybe tops. So that's partial shade for a lot of people. But I would say drier soils, good drainage. I have grown and propagated root cuttings from it in almost straight sand and got a lot of little baby plants from that. So that tells me it's probably happiest when it's on the drier side. Do you grow it?
I don't grow it. Actually, I've never grown a yucca, but I have seen it, and it is indeed beautiful. That color is indeed striking. So
Yeah,
I know
I
it
think,
to
and
be a
it's
good
one of
one.
those plants it's hard for you to put it into a bed with things sort of coming over the top of it because even though it spikes up and it does add that color, it's really at its best when you can see that beautiful structure of it. And so if you've got a place where you can put it in a triangle with two others, or somewhere where it has that whole structure, it really is a stunning plant. And there are many other variegated cultivars out there, not many others, but there's several, which I think switch the variegation from yellow-green to green-yellow. But yeah, it's a good plant. If you got a dry spot, you might want to try it.
All
I
right.
love
Good
that
to know.
plant. Do you have one?
Plants for
Damn,
plants.
I
wish
What,
I
what do we
wish.
call them? Sorry. Thank you. Damn, I
Damn, I
wish I
wish I
planted that.
planted that.
I do. So, okay. So we're looking at November time, right? So up
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
here
end of
in the,
November.
in the north, by end of November, there is not a lot that's left out there in terms of anything that's deciduous. So I am thinking evergreen, much like you did, Leslie. And I am thinking this is nothing that fancy, but it's Chamaecyparis, pis, 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 Pisfera,
Sphaera? Yeah.
Piscifera?
Dow Whiting, which is also known, I think the trade name on
Oh,
it is
wow.
soft serve, but Dow Whiting is the actual cultivar name. And I love this. It's a small tree. It only, I mean, they say like up to like 10 feet. That's probably one of those 10 feet at age 10 or something kind of things. But it's a cute little, perfectly triangle shaped Chamaecyparis with the most beautiful foliage on it. And it is don't tell them, but it's deer resistant. Like, I don't know, like, so far it has been, I mean, I'm knocking on all the wood here because I don't want to invite a herd of deer to come eat it, but it's so charming and so cute, and the best little texture. It's just a small little well-behaved evergreen, nice soft foliage on it too. And the best thing about it is that, now I know we're talking about like late fall, but as we move into winter, it looks like, when it gets a little bit of snow on it, it looks like a Norman Rockwell painting. It is just the perfect
Oh.
little, like, you might think AI came up with this tree. I am completely enamored with it. And it's, you can
I am
push it
writing
into,
down.
Yeah, me
good.
too.
You can push it into a part sun situation, and it doesn't have to be full sun. And I've actually been told you can push it into, like half. And I'm actually thinking I've got some sort of struggling dwarf Alberta spruces that are doing that thing that dwarf Alberta spruces do. I mean, we know
Which
what they
is
do.
want to die. They want to die.
They want
So
to
let
They
die.
them.
want
They
to
are built to,
die. They just want to
yeah,
die.
they do. And so they're kind of looking sort of terrible. And I do think, and I planted them originally because it was a spot where I needed a small evergreen that didn't have totally full sun. And I do think that as those make their way out of this world, I will probably replace them with this Chamaecyparis. So I have just been sort of enamored, and actually it's growing at a nice rate for me too. I would say in 3 years it's put on maybe a foot and a half of growth, which for a smaller evergreen is pretty good rate.
What do you expect for a total for a final?
They say, well, they say 10 feet. So I think usually
Yeah.
with evergreens, they say 6 to 10 feet. Mine are 6 feet now. I think they usually give that as like a 10-year mark. And then I think they keep going
They
from there.
ignore it.
But
They
you
ignore
can
it.
prune them
No
too.
data.
I mean, if you
Or
want
cut them
to, you
down.
can, right, bring it as a Christmas tree, whatever. You can prune them too, or whatever. But generally a moderately small to moderately sized little evergreen. And what I like about it is that it's pretty wide. In fact, I was trying to look up the dimension, the width on it. I'm going to say maybe 6 feet wide or something like that as well. So it's a pretty good screening plant for a low screen.
What's the bark like? What's the bark like on the trunk, on the main trunk?
I actually have no idea now that you mentioned it.
Because it's growing.
I've never gone in there and seen it because it's quite thick and really nicely kind of scallopy layered in there. So I have no idea what the bark looks like. Sorry.
And I'm just trying to figure out, I had some beautiful Chamaecyparis nana obtusa sort of things. I get all these names mixed up that were growing in front of my old house that I enjoyed so much. And the bark was remarkable enough so that I pruned it so that I could see the bark. I also wanted to see something in the middle of the triangle of trees. And the reason I got started down that avenue was because I was so excited about the foliage. It was almost like that blue-green type of foliage. Is that what's going on with your plant?
No, I would say it's more of a kind of emerald to dark green. It doesn't have any hint of blue on it.
Okay. I'll have to find out what mine was and use it as the next Damn I Wish, because I loved that plant. Very cool. Very cool. And so
It's been my experience with Chamaecyparis that the deer overall, in the great scheme of things, tend to leave them alone. Obtusa, and the Piscifera, and I have another one that I can't remember right now. But they do tend to I mean, I have had them nibbled, but it's not devastating the way I've had with other things. So if that helps anybody out or not, there you go.
Hey, I have a question before I let you guys go.
Mhm.
I did a speaking thing today, and a woman stumped me. I have, in my experience, known adolescent probably male deer to take a nibble to peonies because they just didn't know any better. Then their mama slapped them and said, "No, no, we don't eat that." She said that her peonies flowered, did fine all summer, and were recently mown down, and the foliage, it's not like sitting there like, "Ooh, that didn't taste so good." Gone. Deer ate her herbaceous peonies. Any experience with something like that?
I've
No.
had peonies
Yes?
eaten, definitely. I'm not in the last few years,
Oh.
but I've definitely had them eaten. Groundhogs too will eat them. I don't know if she's out there with a game
Oh,
cam making sure. But what about you,
okay.
Erin?
I have enough herbaceous peonies to have a ton of experience with it. So, and it's kind of, and the one that I have, or a couple that I have, are very close to the house, so it's not in the deer zone. So I haven't had any experience with that, but
Okay.
it's probably
Alright.
got more to do with where they're placed, probably.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
just thought
deer
I
are so different
right.
wherever we are. I have a friend who every single thing that I think is deer resistant in my yard are mown to the ground in his because the deer pressure is bigger and just so many more. So deer are different. And even though
Yep.
they're all a lot of them the same species back here and back in the east, but so we just have to duck and dive and put up a deer fence.
Yes, I'm so excited for you. Thank you. I just thought, "Oh, I've got 2 experienced gardeners on the line. I will ask them."
Well, it's been awesome, Erin. Thank you so much for joining us. I was like really looking forward to seeing you again and talking, confessing my sins.
Do
and
that.
I
You are
do.
absolved.
I love to do this sort of thing. I do promise to try sweet peas again next year. Maybe the
Oh, good.
amaranth. Maybe we'll check back in with you at the beginning of next season and make some new promises for next season.
I'm always making promises to myself, so we can definitely talk about that. No, thank you so much for having me. I absolutely adore chatting with you ladies and listening to you when you have someone else chatting with you.
Thank you for being the referee. And while we're doing some thanking, I want to thank Dr. Diane, let me see this, Hotmer and Margaret Galetti, who are new mixers. And thank you for joining our wonderful One More Sip committed community and joining
Cheers
all
to
of
them.
us. Yeah,
Yeah.
cheers to
Erin's a
them. Erin's a
founding
founding
member,
member. You believe in the dream, girl?
and are you gonna share that pineapple with your husband and just say, "Look what I did"?
Oh, he's very impressed. He goes, "Where'd you
Good.
get such a little pineapple?" I'm like, "I grew it. It's been sitting out there." Have you not noticed it this whole time? What's wrong with you, man?
You
It's
didn't grow it
been
from seed, did you?
oh hell no. No.
No,
This is a Mila pineapple. It's a Mila pink pineapple that's basically sold as an ornamental, but it does get these adorable little pineapples on it. And
so
it's like
cute.
it's truly one of my greatest gardening achievements, growing a pineapple in Wisconsin. So
Yeah,
I had very little to do with it. I don't think it was skill. It was just that I got a nice mature plant that did a good job producing that.
It's like a
and you
bulb.
brought it to us, and cheers. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you all next time on The Garden Mixer.